Hey everybody, thanks for checking out my videos. This is Moby from the Not So Narrowcast on YouTube. We're going to be going over some of the best picks and my most commonly picked players and least picked players from each round of NFL fantasy football drafts after completing over 300 drafts on Underdog and Best Ball combined. And what I'll be showing you ADPs, those will be based on the combined ADP of Underdog and DraftKings. And I'll be basing this on my dollar amounts allocated, not the time selected. Just to give, that's how I like to do for a baseline. And remember, if you're picking a player once each round, once out of every 12, that's 8% of the time. So like that, if you did an average allocation, equal allocation of all players, you would have like 8% of each guy from each round. So moving on, in the first round, the guy I've actually taken the most currently is Puka, 11.6%. Saquon's the guy I've taken the least, 6.4%. Now, in particular on the first couple rounds, I do want to be fairly balanced, and I am somewhat of a fairly balanced approach to my whole portfolio. Again, I've done over 300 drafts, so I don't want to have 30% of one guy or completely fade a guy. That's just not in my nature. It's too much exposure. But the issue with Saquon is, I think his ADP is why I haven't been taking him as much. When you talk about Chase, Jefferson, Bijan, Gibbs, Lamb, and then down to Puka and Neighbors, I tend to want to pick one of those guys over Saquon. And I've gotten a lot of first picks, number one picks. You can see I have 10% Jamar Chase, so I'm over getting him. But I haven't got many of the 2 to 4 picks where I have to choose with Saquon. I'll also be mentioning guys that I like or don't like in rounds, regardless of how much I've chosen them. I actually do have 7.87% McCaffrey, but I'm not liking him in this middle part of the first round. The issue is, and people have mentioned this, is the upside you get, but the risk you have. Other picks in the first and second round shouldn't have that much risk of injury or not being themselves. So that's the issue. If you're very confident he could be like the number one overall player, by all means, take him in the first round. But I'd be looking more to get him on the wraparound if I was going to take him, and he hasn't been falling there much lately for me. And Chase is obviously, I would say, the best pick in the round currently. The second round, now these are calculations I just did, and some of these are a bit surprising of exposures I have. But again, second round, I like all the players. I have the most exposure currently to A.J. Brown, about 10%. I also have a lot of Devin Achane, about 10%. Henry's my least exposure at 6%. And another one I don't really like is Tyreek going in the second round. I won't be taking him as much there if I had to choose. The issue is these kind of non-pass catching running backs, particularly on DraftKings. It's a PPR league. So then you're talking Barkley, Henry, possibly Genty, down to Jacobs and some of these other guys. Do you want to take a non-pass catching running back that high? The opportunity cost of the wide receivers. I do think the Eagles' passing game is likely to have a big year. So you can see that's kind of the flip side. Where Barkley's my least drafted one in the first round, but AJ is currently my highest drafted in the second round. A big decision in the second round is Brock Bowers, because he goes between the early second all the way to the late second, once in a while slipping to the third. This is a big decision to make. If you're staking him down as an elite tight end, then you have that position wrapped up. And a lot of sort of analytical types do think he's worth that. But I found it can make it tricky to fill out your slots going forward, and you sort of fall behind a little bit. But I have taken a decent amount of them, as I mentioned. But I guess theoretically, some could say he is the best pick of the second round. And again, it looks like I'm fading Barkley and Henry, and to some degree I am, and that's what burned people last year as well. It's just when it really comes down to it, I'd rather have Gibbs or Bijan over Barkley, coming off that many rushes and with that many, with Philly possibly passing more and things like that. Derrick Henry, another year older, more explosive guys. I kind of like the wide receivers around that area, Brian Thomas and all them that you can get instead. So onto the third round, and this one was a bit surprising that currently Kyron's my most drafted there, because I don't love Kyron, And Breece and Kyren go towards the end of the third round currently. The third round, a lot of people have talked about as a wasteland this year. The beginning of the third round is fine, where you're talking Trey McBride or Chase Brown. If you can get one of them, or a faller like Jacobs or Tyreek Hill or Higgins, somebody like that, Bucky Irving occasionally, people like that. Then there's the spot of what do you do? There's a group of wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Davante Adams, JSN. Then there's the running backs, Kyren and Breece Hall. And then there's also the elite quarterbacks. So Allen and Lamar almost always go in round 3. Jaden Daniels usually does. If he doesn't, he goes early in round 4 usually, and Hurts usually goes by late round 4. So this is another inflection point choice you have where do you want to just go ahead and get the elite quarterback locked up because the mid to late third round is sort of a no man's land. There's players in the 4th and 5th round who a lot of people like just as much. You may like just as much and could do just as well. You can also reach for a guy. But I don't really like these two at the beginning of the third round on their ADPs. Like, a lot of this is ADP based. It doesn't mean I hate the player. And Marvin Harrison could have a breakout year. But there's so many good wide receivers that come after him that are better draft position wise. 5th round, a guy I have been bullish on, and he has risen, is James Cook, so 12.7%. So then we're getting up into a bigger allocation. What I noticed is I was bullish on the Bills pieces and the Eagles pieces, based on how I've been buying stuff, and bearish on the Chiefs. But some of this is where they go. But he has been climbing towards that Kyren, Breece Hall area, as has Omarion Hampton. And I feel much better clicking these two than Kyren and Breece personally. Kyren, if he gets touchdowns, he's going to be fine and he keeps his workload, but there is some encroaching threats of some of his workload going and maybe more touchdowns going to the passing game. Breece, there's a question if he's ever fully recovered to his physical state. You got a rushing quarterback there now, and you have Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis behind him. So to be going that high, it's a risky pick in my opinion. Again, this is a spot of considering taking an elite quarterback, especially if one slips back around to you. George Kittle also goes here. Sometimes he goes at the end of the late third. He's basically the third elite tight end by any measurement. And there's a fairly wide gap to Laporta, and then to me there's a fairly wide gap to all the rest of them. It doesn't mean that they couldn't outperform, but where we're expecting. So you can consider taking him here as well. And then guys I don't mention, it doesn't mean I hate them. It means I basically like them, or don't have a super strong opinion. But to me, the weakest picks of this round would be like DK Metcalf and DJ Moore. And I don't have very much of him. You can see 5% of the time for where they go. I don't particularly think his style fits that well with Rodgers. When you think about like Davante Adams, that style fits well with him. Now Rodgers will probably find a way to make it work, but he could be distributing around the touchdowns, even to the running backs. DJ Moore, it's a very unstable situation for him in Chicago. And I guess I like safer plays than both of these this round. If you're looking at the fourth round wide receivers, Mike Evans. I mean, let's say one of the guys from the third falls, but let's see. I like Mike Evans better. Rasheed I like better, although he's got a suspension. I think I like Worthy better. Ted McMillan, Jameson Williams, Sutton. Even into the 5th round, I would rather take them. I feel better clicking them over these two guys at this juncture. Now, if they slid to the 6th round or 5th round, it'd be a different story. On to the 5th round. Again, here a running back is my biggest taken, Mixon. And I don't love Mixon. I mean, I like him, but I don't love him. That's why I put the star there. I'm not pounding the table on Kyren and Mixon, but he happens to be the guy that I've taken the most, nearly 12%. Alvin Kamara I've taken the least at 5.5%. A lot of this has to do with the ADP and kind of waiting to get my 2nd or 3rd running back, usually 2nd sometimes, and Mixon will be there sometimes into the 6th round. So I'm not saying I drafted him at this price, but he slips a lot, and Alvin Kamara gets snapped up a lot. He is, better for a PPR site like DraftKings, but I don't particularly love Kamara this year. He's another year older, another little more banged up. I'm not rushing to take him. I like most of the players in this round. One that I point out that goes a little too high is Burrow, who I have taken quite a bit of, but Burrow goes a little too high. His ADP is like 53 between the sites because he goes much lower on DraftKings. So people do it because they want to get the Burrow stack with Chase and maybe McBride, or like with Higgins or Chase Brown, the Arizona Cincinnati stack for best ball. And I do like Burrow, but he just, if you compare it to the other ones in this round, he goes too high, and the other quarterbacks. The wild card in this round is Travis Hunter. I tend to think he's going too high, but on the other hand, if he is a bust-out player, like a all-world type player with massive spike weeks, this could be a great pick for him. 6th round, most drafted, Jauan Jennings. Now we're up to 14.5%. The wide receiver one for the 49ers at pick 69 with Pearsall banged up, Ayuk banged up, another wide receiver there banged up, uncertainty in general on that team, a guy who produced. I mean, he's a steal there. He should be rising. Some other guys I like in that round, you can start the rookie running backs are there, Travion Henderson and RJ Harvey. Sam Laporta is there, which is, like I said, to me, he's clearly the 4th tight end as far as like safest bets. So if you do want to jump in and grab him, that's where he usually goes. And then if you look at Debo goes a slot pick before him on average. I've only taken him 3% of the time. I just don't see it. He's the 2nd receiver there. He's not really a receiver. He's a running player. He looked washed last year or out of shape, and some of that is because he had a bad I don't know if it was bronchitis or pneumonia, and he have his lungs even fully recovered from that. So just have no desire to take him there when I could take guys like Jennings or these rookie running backs. There's a few other guys I don't really like in this round right now based on their ADPs. Montgomery, I would rather take the rookie running backs than Montgomery. And same thing with Swift. Montgomery's been a great NFL player, but it's expected his role is going to lessen a little bit this year. I don't feel that comfortable taking him as my 2nd running back. Swift is a little bit, better as a 2nd running back, but he hasn't been really a good fantasy or football player the last few years. We don't know what Roschon's role is, but just not really feeling him in the 6th round. There's running backs in the 7th that, when you're talking about draft capital, is so important. Caleb Johnson goes in the 7th. Pacheco goes in the 7th. Aaron Jones goes in the 7th. Pollard. To me, they're all equal to or better than him, and he's going around earlier. Then you have Rome Odunze, player with a lot of potential, could be a really good young player, but the Chicago targets thing is uncertain. I mean, you're comparing a guy who's going to be the #1 receiver on the 49ers to a guy that might be the 3rd target earner on the Bears. Godwin, really good player coming back from a serious injury. He's going to miss some time. Just don't see the need to take them in this round. It's too early. On to the 7th. Khalil Shakir. I can't even say it on the Bills. Pick 78. I've loaded up on him a lot. He's really good for DraftKings where it's PPR. The #1 wide receiver on the Bills, becoming more and more, in my opinion, sort of the alpha of the pass catchers there. To me, showed improvement late in the year and into the playoffs of becoming like a really good NFL wide receiver. So he gets underestimated, particularly on sites like Underdog, and I scoop him up there a lot. I also like Caleb in this round. I think he's got one of the best situations of any rookie running back on the Steelers. He should be set up to have a Najee Harris role, and probably a much better version of that. So I do like snapping him up there. Mahomes, I've taken him 5% of the time, and I've sort of had to force myself to do that. He just goes way too high, particularly on DraftKings. Most of the rest of the other quarterbacks go like 9, 10th, 11th, 12th round. And I don't put him 2 rounds above them. He hasn't produced at that manner the last couple of years. People say they're going to do more aggressive passing this year. We don't know that. They may revert back to grounding and pounding and dink and dunk, and that's what a lot of NFL teams are moving to in general. So to take him 2 rounds above, unless you really want to stack him with Rice, Worthy, Kelsey, etc. Speaking of Kelsey, he's my least drafted guy in the 8th round. He goes way too high in my opinion. Hawkinson also goes around this round. I find him a little speculative as well, although I can understand him better as a pick than Kelsey. Jumping the gun on him a little bit. We don't know for sure if J.J. McCarthy is going to target him and how much he really is back to his old level. Some people never truly recover from injuries to their level of athleticism and whatnot. And as people age, as I was kind of talking about with Debo. The guy I've actually taken most that goes in this round is Bo Nix at 10.7%. I'm pretty balanced on the quarterbacks overall, but I do like him. I don't think I'm reaching for him into round 8. I think it said he's slipping into round 9, and I'm sort of picking him as my quarterback, as my first quarterback quite often. Some guys that do go in this round 8 currently based on average ADP are Brian Robinson. So you're getting he's sort of the last tier of the number 1 running backs. You got Pollard, him, Aaron Jones, like that. He's sort of the last tier of sort of a guaranteed locked in 1 running back, unless you count Etienne. And then there's a couple others, but he's sort of the last of the good tiers. So I grab him a lot as my 3rd or sometimes 2nd running back. Egbuka goes in this round, rookie wide receiver. Again, it's all about ADP. Very promising wide receiver there. Again, Godwin's banged up. Mike Evans is a year older. High draft capital on a good offense. Mooney goes here. I like him. I haven't taken him quite as much, but I do like him compared to what else goes in this round. Jordan Mason goes here, and a lot of people jump the gun on him and Aaron Jones. I mean, they're totally over. They're jumping the gun on it. Aaron Jones is going to be the starter. We don't know what role Jordan Mason's going to have. They think short touchdown role, but do you want, short goal line, but do you want to be taking that this early? No, you really don't. Unless you think he's going to overtake Aaron Jones for a major role, like by mid-season, it's not worth that draft capital, in my opinion. On to the 9th round. This is where I think if you don't take one of the elite quarterbacks or tight end, this is where if you want to, you sort of have your choice of which one you like or which one pairs up the best. So if you do want to grab one, round 9 is a good spot to start doing it, and you can also wait even longer. But I think that's why Evan Ingram is my top one, guy taken out of this round, because a lot of times a couple tight ends will go, or I'll have Bo Nix, and I'll say, well, I want to stack Ingram and Bo Nix. I mean, I'm not doing a mass amounts. You see 10%. But this is where you can grab the quarterback of your choice. Like, let's say you really want to get Fields or Mayfield or Brock Purdy. Usually they'll be there. And you don't, and if you want to stack somebody, don't be afraid to reach. There's a lot of quarterbacks that go between round, 9, 10, 11, 12, sometimes even 8. And you can reach on them if need be. A lot of them are sort of bunched together. Quinshawn, I wasn't taking him before the news, and I haven't kept taking him, so that's good. I preferred the other rookie running backs that went in his range before this because I felt like they had better situations. I preferred, Harvey, Henderson, Caleb, and obviously Hampton to him anyway, so I wasn't taking him now that he's slipping. I had been already grabbing what's his name in the 19th round, Sampson, and so Sampson's risen to like the 15th. So I'm still not looking to take him. He hasn't signed a contract yet. We don't know what his situation is. I do like Tyrone Tracy going in this round. A lot of people think Scatabo might get the work, but he could be the equivalent of a number 1 running back, and you're getting him one of the last ones, a young one. Another guy that goes in this round is Brandon Ayuk, a guy I was pretty much avoiding the whole time, and he's falling. As he gets to over pick 100, I can see taking him, but not really in any rush. Keon Coleman goes too high in my opinion. Very uncertain role with the Bills. Shakir is locked in, and there's a whole bunch of other guys. So he's going too high. So I'm not taking that much of him or wanting to. Round 10, again, tight end. So you can see a lot of the times I've been when I skip the first tight ends, I'm grabbing my first tight end in 9 or 10, and Njoku's one I've liked a lot. His ADP is still down at 116. It needs to be higher. It should be higher. It should be in the top echelon of that tier of tight ends. So again, this is a good round to grab your first tight end or your first or second quarterback. Trey Harris also goes in this round, wide receiver on the rookie wide receiver on the Chargers. Got a very good situation. Mike Williams got cut. Again, you want to be getting some rookies and second-year guys, potential breakout guys in best ball versus guys that have ceilings that you know of and guys that can come on late in the year. He stacks well with Justin Herbert. Should be the wide receiver 2 there, although Quentin Johnson is going to have a role. J.K. Dobbins, I haven't been taking much, only 4.5% in this round. I liked him last year, but that's because I was taking him in the 16th and 17th round. This year, in the 10th round, not so much. He's older. He had a great start to last year. I think his role is going to be phased out. Harvey could just be really, really good and explosive. So I don't see the need to rush up and take him here. I'd rather have a Tracy or somebody like that potentially that is younger and could potentially have the starting spot all year and is not have a history of so many injuries. Round 11, my top pick player is a tight end also. In this case, it's Colston Loveland, the rookie on the Bears, a whopping 13.6%. So when I start getting up to these 13, 14, 15% allocations, I try to tone myself back. I don't want to go too overboard. I don't want to get up to 20% with as many lineups as I have. I mean, I could. There's certainly reason to. I definitely wouldn't recommend getting up to like 30% on a player if you have that many lineups. He's going far below Warren, the rookie tight end on the Colts, and he's going far below other good tight end. And he could easily finish in the same class with the Andrews, with the Warrens, with the Njokus. So he's going 2 rounds later. So I've snapped him up a lot as the second tight end or even the first tight end. And then he obviously stacks with Caleb. Najee, I was not buying Najee before the news came out, and he's fallen further, and I'm still not buying him. Chargers just brought in what should be a really good young running back. Najee has just been such a plodder the last few years. He got so much work, but he could, if you saw him break a run longer than 12 yards, I haven't. And then he has some kind of eye injury that they're from fireworks that they're not disclosing at this time. And again, training camp's just starting, so ADPs and whatnot can change, and there can be a lot of news and things that can happen. But as I was looking at the ADPs in this round, there are a lot of guys I like that go in this round in particular. I like Kirk. I think he's undervalued. People are really wanting to jump on Higgins, the rookie wide receiver, but Kirk, aka what they called him the slot demon, he's good, especially for PPR. He could be a really good pickup this late. Burden, the rookie wide receiver on the Bears, another rookie. Again, possibility DJ Moore flames out, possibility. But a lot of draft capital on him on what should be a more explosive offense for fantasy purposes. I like Marvin Mims. A lot of people hate him. He goes in this round. He's good to pair up with Nix. He looked really good towards the end of last year. Not just a gadget player. I think Sutton is clearly the alpha there, but Marvin Mims could have a good season. Then there's some other running backs, sort of a last tier of another group of running backs. Tajay, Javonte Williams, technically the starter on the Dallas, so I've picked him a lot lately, even though I have to hold my nose to do it. And Ramondre could hold off the role. They're much more likely than Najee, all those guys, to have a good role and put up fantasy points this year. That's the point. They're going in the same round. Pick one of these guys over him if you're looking for running back depth. Next round, tight end again is my most drafted. Goddard at 16%. I've had to stop myself from drafting him consciously. My least drafted is Ferguson, about 6%. I don't hate Ferguson. I probably need to get some more of him. I just tend to want him more when I have a Dallas stack or have Dak, and I haven't gotten that much Dak. I've taken a good amount of CD Lamb, but people scoop up Pickens and Dak fast, and so I haven't got as much of them as I would like. I'll have to make an effort to. I do think Goddard has a little more standalone value. I think he's a little underpriced. I think the Philly weapons look good this year, and if A.J. Brown or Devontae misses time at all, he can almost perform like a Kittle-type role. Jake Ferguson really doesn't as much, but I don't hate him in this round. I just haven't taken that much. Bajal Tutin's a really nice pick. in this round. He's going much higher on underdog than DraftKings. He is a guy you want to get a piece of. Pat Kerrane, who runs Legendary Upside, who won Best Ball Millions before on underdog, he is pounding the table on Tootin, especially at this price. Explosive rookie running back. Offense that should be more explosive. We don't know what Etienne's role was going to be, what Etienne has in him. We don't know what Bigsby's role is going to be, but very high, very nice upside pick here at a position that's hard to find. He'd probably be going high. Depending on the news coming out of training camp, he could really start moving up. As a prospect, he was extremely promising to a lot of the guys who analyze college football and numerical and tape watching. I like Quentin Johnson in this round as well. A lot of people hate him, but he may have a good role. He put up touchdowns last year for the Chargers. And then this is a good round to get your first or second tight end if you haven't gotten it. So those middle rounds, if you don't get an elite quarterback or tight end, or then those rounds 9 to 12-ish, you want to be getting, I generally want to get 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends, or 2 and 1, or 1 and 2. But oftentimes this is the area. But then if you can sneak in guys like I'm mentioning, here and on the previous one, that fit the good ones, though, like the ones that really, and they fit a spot on your team, that's nice as well. And of course, if you draft an elite quarterback, you can wait. It's up to you. You can wait till these rounds to get a second, or you can wait even later. If you draft an elite tight end, you're probably going to want to wait till around the end of this tier of tight ends or later. So that's the advantage of taking an elite quarterback and tight end early in this draft. The question is there's a limited amount of talent that you're getting by not taking. Round 13, there's a lot of running backs that go in this round that are worth taking. My most draft is actually Austin Ekeler, 9.7%. I think he's got something left. I think he's got a role there in Washington. On the other hand, Thielen, I've only taken him 4.3%. He's going way higher on DraftKings compared to underdogs. So on DraftKings in particular, I would not take him. He's going the same as Leggett and whatnot. He's going 2 rounds above Leggett. On underdog, he's going a lot cheaper, but he's going to have. He should be there, have some role especially in the early season. There's more competition for targets. He's another year older, et cetera, et cetera. Upside is capped on older guys. Remember that. For best balls in particular, you want, now Ekeler is an older guy, but he looked like he had something left. Guys, some running backs that go in that round, round 13, Garendo, Trey Benson, Jaden Blue, Dylan Sampson currently. I like all of those guys. I mean, at their spots. Ray Davis goes at the end of the 12th. I'd put him in with the 13/14. So when those guys, when they slip, and I'm not saying Eckler's my favorite of them. Some of that has to do too when I have Jaden Daniels, and I miss, and I'm looking for somebody to stack him with. I'll go ahead and tack on Ekeler quite often because he's a pass catching back. Jaden Blue's a guy that if he slips far like this, 13th, 14th, then I will take him, but I'm not looking. I mean, I would put Tootin like 2 or 3 rounds ahead of him. 14th round, we have another Bill. 13.9% of Josh Palmer. I'm having to stop myself from taking more of him there. You see he's going, 5 rounds behind Keon Coleman. We do not know what Keon Coleman's role is going to be. He's going 5 rounds after Keon Coleman. He could be the second leading pass catcher on the Bills. We're not sure of that. It's obvious everything's a risk, but when you're talking about 5 rounds later, I'm taking the risk on Palmer over Keon Coleman. He has caught touchdowns in the past. Jalen McMillan is a guy I have not been taking a risk on. I want to raise him a little bit with Godwin being banged up. I need to raise him a little bit. But if you think of it this way, he's basically going to be the 4th wide receiver on Tampa if they're all healthy. Godwin, Egbuka, the rookie, 1st-round pick, right? And Evans. They also have Cade Otton. They also have Bucky. So why is a 4th wide receiver going this high? This is a new situation with an explosive team that we don't know. This is a reach. I would like to not have. That's a little too low of him, but it's the price that matters. There's a lot of 2nd and 3rd tight ends you can get in this area. Jack Besh, Raiders rookie, goes in this area. He would be a better speculative play than McMillan. because he was a fairly high draft capital. We're still not sure what his role is going to be, but rookie running backs and wide receivers who they spend higher draft picks on draft capital, they tend to get opportunities. I don't really like Jalen Wright in this range of these running backs. He did not look good last year to me. I think Ollie Davis may beat him out, and I don't like the reaching on him as the Dolphins backup this high. But that's just my personal take. Round 15, the guy I drafted the most is Roschon at 12.1%. Remember, I showed you DeAndre I didn't like at that price. Well, Roschon in the 15th as a speculative guy with training camp just starting. We don't know yet, but possibility that he's going to have a more significant role or even beat out DeAndre. Possibly gets buried. But the only other guy they brought in I believe, is Monangai, a rookie who's like a real low draft pick, who's more of a I mean, Monangai is worth taking at times in the last rounds, but I don't think it's so. Roschon seems like a good bet there. Alec Pierce I've been avoiding, 3.1%. He's another guy who probably will be the fourth wide receiver on the Colts because A.D. Mitchell, if Daniel Jones is the quarterback, A.D. Mitchell fits in much better with him because Daniel Jones doesn't throw 80-yard bombs, and that's really all Alec Pierce primarily does. But I can understand, and if you think Anthony Richardson is going to be the quarterback, then it's worth taking Alec Pierce. I don't tend to think that, so I haven't been taking him. This is a good area to get your second or third quarterback if you're pushing it, because the guys that go down here is sort of the last of it. You're talking about Sam Darnold usually goes in the 15th. Okay, Aaron Rodgers goes in the 15th now. So if you're pushing it to your second or even your third, and if you want a quality third, this is the limit of it, because above them you have Geno, Cam Ward, Bryce Young. Bryce Young's been getting pushed up. Cam Ward's pushed up a little too much in my opinion. Geno was far too low for a while, but he's come up. But Sam Darnold is too low. Aaron Rodgers has come up. Because then after them, then you're looking at guys who aren't really guaranteed to be the starter for the whole season or expected to be. Jerome Ford has come up to this area, and I've been grabbing him. I didn't have hardly any of him to begin with. I had Dylan Sampson a lot in the late rounds for the Browns, who I thought was going to have a role in a rookie. So I have Sampson. I'm still getting some of him. But Ford, in this round, he will probably be the starting running back to start the season. And that's a good bargain. Pat Bryan is a rookie wide receiver on the Broncos who goes in this round. Good speculative play. Much better bet if you want a speculation than Alec Pierce, in my opinion. Not the greatest prospect on paper, but could be a good jump ball type receiver for the Broncos, who should have a good offense this year. Round 16, my most drafted players are Miles Sanders, 13.9%. Again, he's going many rounds after Javonte Williams, and decent chance he's co-starting running back or has a big role. Older running back, but again, if you're looking for the guys who are going to get you some floor points, that's the kind of like this is, with potentially a bigger role than a lot of people in this range. Justice Hill is a guy I've taken very little of. I do want to get some more of him on DraftKings, as he is a pass-catching back. But his upside is capped, and with Keaton Mitchell apparently being healthy, Keaton Mitchell may be the primary backup, keeping his role pretty limited, but that is a little too low on him because he can have some decent games, especially when the Ravens need to pass the ball. I really like De'Ami Brown, who's going in this round still. Or he's up a little bit, but he's going in this round. Probably going to be basically Jacksonville's second wide receiver because Travis Hunter is going to be a special or whatever you want to call it. So De'Ami's going to get a lot of routes, and he can put up points. I really like him for this range. Will Shipley, I would take over Justice Hill. Philly's backup, pass catching, should play some this year, and obviously the continuing factor of Barkley. Anthony Richardson, I have not been taking. I've been taking Daniel Jones. If I have to take one of them, I think there's a decent possibility Daniel Jones starts all the games this year. If you want to take a shot on Anthony Richardson, I wouldn't do it in this round. I'd wait till later. If he slips to you, I wouldn't rush on him. DeAndre Hopkins goes in this round. I don't really like him. I'd rather take a De'Ami Brown. His biggest role is probably going to be catching a few touchdowns here and there. So maybe slightly better on underdog. I like Rashad Bateman much better. Of course, he goes much higher. I like Isaiah Lively a lot this year, too. He's been getting snapped up quicker and quicker as far as Ravens pieces. 17th round, I've taken a lot of Darius Slayton, 13.6%. Got a contract with the Giants, has put up numbers, kind of a guy we know is going to get targets. I think the Giants' offense is going to be better this year, most likely. Possibility Russell Wilson keeps that job the entire year if they are quite a bit better and they're in the playoff hunt. But also Jackson Dart is a good late round play. Darren Waller, I didn't have any of them. I took a little bit of him when the news came out that he signed with the Dolphins. I'm not taking any more. Pretty much, I think they will bring in another. Good possibility they'll bring in another tight end. Not really have any desire. What's the upside that you get there? He's not going to be the Darren Waller of 5-10 years ago. But, I can maybe 2% or something. There's a lot of rookies and sophomore, second-year running backs that go in this round. This is also a good round to get your third quarterback, such as Tyler Shuck, or a third tight end. Remember, underdog rounds are 18. DraftKings are 20. So on DraftKings, with 20 rounds, I pretty much 90+% of the time will get 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends. I usually go 3, 6, 8, 3. 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 8 wide receivers, 3 tight ends. It's by far like 95% probably in DraftKings. Underdog, there's a whole variety of builds, and a lot of people this year are doing 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends. It's for 3-5-7-3. So those last 2 rounds really depends on it. For underdog, if I have an elite quarterback, I'll most likely almost always just take 2. If I have an elite tight end, I'll pretty much always take 2. But then it gets to if I have 2 good quarterbacks or 2 good tight ends, do I want to take a third? But Tyler Shuck's a nice third one. Some of the rookie running backs that go in this round and second-year guys currently, we have Deontay Thornton, a rookie wide receiver on the Raiders. Giddens back up on Colts. Jarquez Hunter on the Rams. Brashard Smith. So then some guys actually go in the next round. But what I'm getting at is this is a good round to get those guys. Get a guy you like. You can reach for them. Pretty much it's been proven that the draft capital from like 16 to 20 is basically the same to some degree, or 17th. So grabbing a guy 2 rounds early in the 17th is not a big deal. Oh, and Keenan Allen, I'm not taking any of him in this round. If I was going to take him, it would be in the absolute last round. And, he's saying he wants to sign with the team. It could be just PR. And what role is he going to have? Maybe a touchdown, merchant. If he signs with the team and I can see the situation, I would be fine taking him because he won't rocket up that far that fast, I don't think. 18th round, which is the final round on DraftKings, on Underdog. My most drafted player here is Jackson Dart, 12.6%. I like Shuck and Dart as your third quarterbacks, especially on DraftKings. I will take them a lot when they're there very late, when I can push them. I think I like Shuck better because I think he will be the starter day one. I think there's a possibility that both these guys are better than expected. Dart is probably not going to play till the end of the year, but the way you can envision it is, I'm not saying they're going to be great, but you could almost, if you're looking at the bullish case, you could say Shuck might be like a poor man's Bo Nix, and Jackson Dart to me might be like a poor man's Drake May, who I like quite a bit. So getting these guys as your third quarterback, if you have 2 quarterbacks locked away on DraftKings, these can give you, because you're not spending hardly any draft capital on them. And you can also stack them easily. There's a lot of Giants pieces, and there's some New Orleans pieces like Juwan Johnson, Brandon Cooks, the running backs. And there's a lot of Giants pieces. I just showed you Slayton. There's Theo Johnson, the tight end. So this is a good place to get your third quarterback or third tight end. You can grab Daniel Jones and guys like that if you want as well, if they're down here. Russell Wilson. I pretty much won't go beyond that. Obviously Richardson. Third tight ends that aren't showing up in this round, or they do go around here. Sanders on Carolina and Theo Johnson on the Giants. Good, promising young guys. I mean, they theoretically could be your second tight ends if you're being really risky. But, again, sometimes they go earlier in this. Sometimes they go undrafted. This is an area where you want to be looking for wide receiver stacks and depth, but also looking for those rookie and sophomore or second-year running backs and wide receivers, guys like Corum. If you miss that, there's a big group of them that I'll talk about here in a second. Freiermuth is a guy I haven't drafted much at all, 3.9%. I didn't have much of him before the news of Jonnu trade came. And so I haven't felt the need to add any. Why I'm interested in taking the second tight end on a team, even though he's a good player, second, and he may have a good role. Why would I want a decent role? Why would I want to take the second tight end on a team before guys who are going to be the first tight end on a team? Just not into that. So then you go round 19 and on. There's a ton of guys. I'm not even listing them all here. But some of the guys I've drafted the most that by their ADP, they go 19th round or later. Average ADP between underdogs and DraftKings. Taj Brooks on the Bengals, running back. That's a lot. I need to cut back on him, almost 11%. If he makes if Moss is out, he's got a really prime spot as the Bengals backup. Dontavian Wicks on the Packers. Adonai Mitchell on the Colts. Fannin, Cleveland tight end. That's a good speculative third tight end if you want upside shot. Naylor on the Vikings. I do like him, but I do want to be a little careful because Felton is a rookie wide receiver who could be competing with him. I think Naylor's got the inside track, but he looked good last year. And, Addison will miss games. And if something happens in that offense, explosive offense, I think Adonai Mitchell will probably have a better role than Pierce. Wicks, we're not sure yet with Green Bay, but they do spread the ball around. Valdez-Scantling on Seattle. I do like him quite a bit, but also taking some Horton, who's a rookie wide receiver. One of these two is going to be the third wide receiver on Seattle, and both of them could be catching more of the long balls with JSN and Cooper Kupp being, PPR short guys. Trey Tucker on the Raiders. I'm toning back on taking him a bit because I'm starting to like Besh and Thornton, the rookies, more. But I want to see where that comes out. He did have a role and caught some balls last year. I need to cut back on him, though. Not looking to take too much of him. Jalen Lane on the Commanders is a guy I haven't heard anybody really talking about, and I was adding to him. You can get all these guys in almost every draft. They might get snapped on you, one or two of them, in any particular draft. But one of these guys is going to be the third, wide receiver on the Skins, and could be the second if you consider Debo, because is he even a wide receiver at this point? Noah Brown will be probably the best one if he's healthy. I've been taking some of him lately. He's a veteran. But then you also have Luke McCaffrey, second-year guy, and Jalen Lane, a rookie, who has a nice profile from what I have looked into, and I think he could fit in really well. So I think one of these three is going to be a great pick. And if you're doing a ton of drafts, I would try to get a little bit of each of them, or you could wait a little bit and see how the news comes out of training camp. But they're going far too low or undrafted. Tutu Atwell, good pick late, especially for Rams stack. Ollie Gordon is a guy, running back on Miami I mentioned, rookie running back. I prefer him over Wright for where they're situated currently. The New Orleans backup running back, Kendre Miller or Neal. Now, Neal's a 6th-round pick. I don't love his profile. Kendre Miller, if he's out of the doghouse and healthy and all that, I kind of like him there. Ray McLeod on the Falcons. I'm actually surprised he's not a little higher because he's basically their third wide receiver. So when you need Penix stacks and all these guys, virtually all these guys have produced in the NFL. I mean, Atwell has produced, Tucker has produced, Wicks has, you know what I mean? A lot of these guys, Naylor, MVS, these guys are NFL players, and they should have a role. McLeod looked good at times last year. Kendry Lambert-Smith on the Chargers, another rookie wide receiver they took. So with them cutting Mike Williams, he's got an opportunity for a shot, another promising rookie. Cooks on the Saints, maybe the second wide receiver on the Saints, and nobody is drafting him, a longtime vet who is a good NFL player and should have something left, not 100% sure. Goes with Shuck. Some other guys, Tolbert, I need to get more of. He's going very late. I mean, he's going to be the third wide receiver most likely on the Cowboys. They also have Turpin, who's an explosive player that they have talked about using at running back. He never gets drafted, very, very rarely gets drafted. Then you have the Rams tight ends, Ferguson and Higbee in particular. People are taking Ferguson. He's a rookie, but it's no guarantee he's going to have that much of a role. It's hard to say yet. Higbee is the vet who should have a role but gets hurt a lot. So it's hard for me to go full bore when there's two tight ends. Royals on the Chiefs, rookie wide receiver. I mentioned Neal. I mentioned them. Elijah Moore on Buffalo, also to some degree Curtis Samuel could have a role there, going undrafted. The San Francisco wide receiver situation, I definitely want to be getting some of these guys, Demarcus Robinson and Watkins. The other guy there, Cowing, is hurt. Pearsall is hurt. Ayuk is hurt. Jennings is a bit disgruntled. The whole thing is a cluster. Cluster, you know what. And so these guys could definitely get some play. Robinson actually put up numbers last year. He's promising. Zach Moss, if he is healthy, I'm going to be grabbing him as quickly as possible because the Bengals will use him if he is healthy and he beats out Taj Brooks. Roman Wilson on Pittsburgh, a second-year guy who can be may have a role if he gets improves. Then with Arroyo who's actually going around 18 now on Seattle, you have Barner's the other tight end there because they cut Noah Fant. Barner looked really good last year in the Lions game in particular. I saw him play. So Barner and Arroyo as a third tight end. Same thing with Ferguson and Higbee. The Miami third wide receivers, Nick Westbrook, Akine, or Malik Washington. A lot of the fantasy, best ball guys like Malik better, but I think Westbrook, Akine may have the inside track there, depending on health. Torrey Horton on Seattle. I mentioned the rookie with MVS. Jermaine Burton on the Bengals is a guy I need to get more of. As far as another second-year guy, kind of like Roman Wilson, that they just didn't like and buried him. But if he comes back with a better attitude and improves, he could have a role. And, Burrow didn't really like throwing to Yoshivas last year. Yoshivas was open. And also, Burton's more of an explosive piece. And, of course, these are all contingency picks. Woody Marks on the Texans, going undrafted completely. He's more of a pass-catching back, but he could have a role there. And then you have Nick Chubb as the primary backup. We don't know what his situation is. I think it's Arian Smith on the Jets. I've taken him. He's a good pairing with Fields. He's a rookie burner wide receiver. They have Garrett Wilson, and then they have Reynolds and Lazard. I mean, these are good dart throws for best ball type things in the round 19-20 type thing. Wilson on Eagles. He's similar again to Burton and Roman Wilson. Johnny Wilson on the Eagles. He's like a 6'7" wide receiver that they drafted who got a little bit of play last year. Looks like he could be a player. May get a chance there depending on injuries and whatnot. And then if you're really desperate for a quarterback, you can go dumpster diving. And the guys I would take would be Shador or Milroe. People are sleeping on Milroe, but I mean they're rushing to take Anthony Richardson. There's a chance that Milroe is playing Week 17 and rushes for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, throws for a couple bombs, and is the league winner. I mean, there's a world where that happens. He's not necessarily a good quarterback right now, but he's extremely athletic with a big arm. And if he does get out there in weeks 15, 16, 17 or something because of Darnold, there's worse guys you could take than that spot if you want that spot. Shador, similar thing. I mean, there's a lot of competition there, but if he does go ball out week 17 it's a Pittsburgh game, which is what a lot of people are worried about, the Cleveland-Pittsburgh stack, week 17 game, but worth a dart throw. Occasionally. I mean, again, I've drafted 300 teams. Hey, so thanks for checking out my video. I really appreciate it. Let's win some money or win your trophy this season in best ball or fantasy football. Please subscribe to my Not So Narrowcast channel on YouTube and like and comment on the videos. Really appreciate it. And thanks, and have a good one.